Hello, my name's Kelly Vaughn. I'm a singer-songwriter from right here in Columbus, and I'm really happy to be with you here today to help you celebrate Survivors Month. And even more importantly, I'm glad that you're here to help celebrate Survivors Month. And the folks here at the James asked me to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been with the Heather Pick Music Program for about 4 years now, and it has a special connection for me. My mom, unfortunately, did not win her battle with cancer. We lost her in around 2010, and uh, she was my best friend. I had a really difficult time with the loss, and in trying to cope with the loss, reconnected with my guitar, started playing music as a way for me to heal myself. And that eventually led to me starting to write songs, and it essentially put me on a completely different career path, which led me to be able to be with you here today, for which I am extremely thankful and grateful. And being able to share music, to being able to connect with people through music is a really wonderful thing. I'm constantly reminded of how powerful and healing music can be. And it's just an honor to be able to be here and to be part of this program and to be able to play at the James. So I actually I wrote a special song for the event, and I wanted it to kind of embody what I experience when I'm playing at the James, seeing the staff interact with the patients. Um, I have friends who are also in treatment, who have gone through treatment. And then, of course, also knowing what my mom experienced. And I just wanted to try to put that all into a song and have it resonate with the theme for the event and for the James. And so I'm going to play my new song for you, and it's called Hope Grows Here. Here we go. Feel like giving up, feel like letting go. You're carrying away, trying not to let it show. When it's hard to see the light at the end of the road. Don't lose faith, you're stronger than you know. And hope grows here when you need someone to take your hand. Hope grows here when you feel alone and just need a friend. Hope grows here when days pass and doubt comes crashing in. Hope grows here, gonna chase away the fear. Hope grows here. When the day becomes the night, the night becomes the day. War inside feels like more than you can take. Know you're gonna hold on, know you're gonna be well. No time at all, you've been ringing that bell. Hope grows here when you need someone to take your hand. Hope grows here when you feel alone and just need a friend. Hope grows here when the days pass and doubt comes crashing in. Hope grows here, gonna chase away the fear. 'Cause hope grows here. Hope grows here. So when you feel like giving up, feel like letting go, keep carrying the weight, 'cause you're stronger than you know. Stay strong, everybody.
Good afternoon. My name is Annie Trance, and I'm the director of JamesCare for Life, and I'm so pleased to welcome you to today's program in recognition of Cancer Survivors Month. Right now, there are more than 16 million Americans living with a history of cancer. The 5-year survival rates are on the rise, largely due to advancements in cancer treatment and early detection, which is helping us learn so much more about the unique needs of those living with cancer and for those caring for a loved one with cancer. And so for Cancer Survivors Month, we like to take time to honor the unique experiences by sharing stories of people living with cancer. These stories bring light to the challenges and struggle, as well as the beauty and strength that often emerge, giving way to hope. Hope Grows Here is our theme for Cancer Survivors Month, as it is the foundation of these stories, as well as the groundbreaking research and care being done at the James. During these unprecedented times of living through a global health pandemic, maintaining hope and connecting to our resiliency is especially important. With this in mind, I would like to highlight some of the resources at the James that are here to support and empower cancer survivors. We have robust survivorship services that help patients manage the long-term physical and emotional aspects of cancer and improve quality of life, longevity, and well-being. All of the JamesCare for Life survivorship programming and support groups have transitioned to an online format. You can also access the on-demand video library of programming through the JamesCare for Life YouTube page. The Supportive Care Clinic and Psychosocial Oncology Department offers appointment options for in-person and video, allowing you to connect with survivorship and counseling experts from the safety of your home. The Hope Peer Matching Program continues to be a great resource for connecting to someone who has had a similar experience with cancer and can be done through telephone, text, or video. Additionally, the James Patient Education also has many online handouts and videos on survivorship and various cancer-related topics. Please visit our website at cancer.osu.edu for more information on any of these services. And now on to today's program. You will be hearing from our volunteer musicians in our Heather Pick music program here at the James, our Chief Medical Officer at the James, Dr. David Cohn, and from 2 cancer survivors sharing their personal stories and how they connect to hope. We are honored to have WBNS-10TV News co-anchor and advocate of the James, Angela Ann, with us today to facilitate this discussion. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope that you enjoy the program ahead.
Today, we gather to recognize our patients with cancer and all of those who are survivors of this disease. And of course, we remember each and every patient who's been lost to cancer. We recognize the families, the caregivers, and the friends of those who have cancer that are so important to the physical and emotional well-being that's critical for anyone diagnosed with this disease. There are over 17 million cancer survivors in the United States, and this number continues to grow each year. We're hopeful that the trends that have been seen with the overall death rate from cancer declining over the last 25 years continues. We continue to research and to innovate, to improve treatments and to provide survivorship care in ways that were not possible a decade ago. Clinical trials allow us to test new treatments, some of which have now become standard of care, leading to a higher rate of cure in many of our cancers. We continue to educate our communities about the reduction in the risk of cancer through healthy diet, maintaining a normal weight, by not smoking, by vaccination, and by using sunscreen. We also educate our communities about the critical importance of cancer screening so that cancers can be detected as early as possible when the rate of cure is highest. With more than 1.8 million new cancer cases expected to be diagnosed this year in the United States, which is almost 5,000 new patients a day, the importance of survivorship and celebrating our cancer survivors is critical. Over the last few months, we recall that cancer does not pause for a pandemic, and neither do we. We support those that are currently being treated for their cancer, we celebrate those whose treatments have been completed, and we reflect upon the strength of those that are no longer with us. You are all survivors in your own way, and your strength and your spirit inspire us all. Thank you. Cool.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Angela Ann, and I am thrilled to be here to welcome all of you who are watching us virtually to this special celebration. And we know that hope does grow here at the James. We have witnessed it personally, and we are so happy to share with you all today some amazing stories of two of our survivors. So I want to welcome with us this afternoon Jared and Jill. Good afternoon. Let's say hi to all our friends at home.
Hey
there
guys.
we are, watching us virtually. You both have just amazing stories of your individual cancer journey. So Jill, I'm going to start with you. You were diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and something you said really struck to me. You said that this is where everything changed. Tell me about that moment.
You know, as a maker, and it changed for me because I was thinking about how I was going to move forward with my life. And as a maker, the first thing I thought of was, can I continue painting? Can I continue making jewelry? So that moment of change for me was knowing that I had to walk through my practice, my studio practice in a different way, and kind of get to know who I was as a new artist, a different artist. Not only with my own studio practice, but also with my students. I had to really find a way to acknowledge what I was going through and also kind of bring those students in and kind of have them experience it with me at the same time.
We should tell our viewers at home that you are a professor at CCAD.
I
am. So how many years has it been?
It's 16 years.
16
At
years.
CCAD, yeah.
Let's give her a virtual round of applause on that one. And Jared, for you, you were rather young, a junior in college. And so for most of us going back into our college days, right? I mean, you're about to embark on the world, you're looking forward, you're looking ahead. And tell us what happened.
Yeah, I just had significant pain in my leg.
Out of the blue.
Yeah, it just kind of grew, steadily for a number of months. Got more severe. Was very active, so just kind of ignored it, as most 21-year-old males would do.
Sure.
And it got to a point where just too much to handle. Actually passed out a couple times from pain.
You passed out?
Yeah, and my buddies were like, "Hey, you got to get this thing checked out." So we went home, and went to a family friend, and he's an ortho surgeon, and he gave us the MRI and then the diagnosis after the radiation. The radiologist, looked at the results, and so 21, being diagnosed with osteosarcoma, a rare bone cancer. I mean, obviously, it changes everything. The trajectory of my life and where I am now. It's been changed.
And I'm sure you had a lot of questions because that is a rare bone cancer, mostly seen in younger boys, right? I mean, 12 to 15
12
or
to 17. And sarcomas in general, the family of cancers are pretty rare, so everything was new. I mean, we had experienced with some relatives or family friends some cancer seasons, but our family was kind of investigating where do we start this journey, how do we investigate, and coming here to the James was just such a blessing. And the story of hope, it starts with the doctors and the team that you initially meet, that welcomes you into the doors and answers all those questions, but also walks through those really hard stages of life with you.
It's almost like you probably felt you could take that next step and not fall. You had that support group here at the
Absolutely.
James. You also said it was the most shaping experience in your life. What did you mean by shaping?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all go through the hardships in life, and everybody's hardships look different. Obviously, in the last number of months for the world, the global pandemic, a lot of it has been defined by COVID. But for me, it was my cancer journey, and still continues to be. I like to say to people, I still kind of seek the wisdom of the deep well of my cancer journey still today, and it still is impacting my life. I met my wife because of my journey. My family has grown incredibly close through our journey. My faith has changed as a result of my journey, and then my even profession and things outside of cancer has really impacted. So just very involved in this community and volunteer at a couple of places, and still seek to give back in what I've learned and learn from others from this journey.
I think a lot of our friends at home, when they hear the words hope grows here, we know that hope begins with also finding out ways to cope. You have to first probably take that journey and that first step. So can we talk about your coping strategies? And I'll go back to Jill, because you are an artist, an amazing artist, and some of your work, first describe it for us, because I'm looking at this and it's a beautiful piece of art, and then I realize she's actually made some kind of cancer cell out of her art. So talk about that.
So when I was first diagnosed, I went into this moment of researching what my disease was about, especially when they weren't sure if I had either non-Hodgkin's or Hodgkin's lymphoma. So one of the things that the doctor kept talking to me about is that when you look at field stains, Hodgkin's lymphoma has 2 protein cells, and they look like googly eyes. And I'm like, what?
I have googly eyes?
Yeah, they're like two little eyes with big protein cells in them. And so I started to do some visual research. And I started looking at what not mine, but what Hodgkin's looks like underneath the microscope. And I became really fascinated with the structure of cancer cell metastasis or disease. And so I started actually investigating my family history of cancer, and I started looking at all those field stains. So there's lung cancer in my family, there's prostate, there's pancreatic, there's a bunch of stuff going on in my family. And I started looking at those field stains, and I would take a design element found that happens organically in nature, and I would reconstruct it through either fiber or through paper. So a lot of my work is just taking an element and then really kind of playing off this idea of metastasis. The wall becomes the host. My artwork is the parasite, but I want to kind of shift. There's a play on that visual for the viewer, because I want to draw the viewer in to the beauty of this mass and just kind of forget about how awful it could be, just kind of to self-reflect, to really think about what is beautiful and what's wonderful beyond that. So there's this, for me, it was a moment where I could kind of get away from having cancer and making, but also starting to acknowledge that something so terrible still has a weird element of beauty to it, and acknowledging that and then claiming it. And I think that claiming it actually gave me agency in my disease and made me really think about, okay, this is my disease and I'm going to manage it, and I've got to move forward with it, and this is one of the ways that I'm going to move forward with it. And then show it to other people and have them learn and experience and have conversations. So it's a way to talk about cancer in a very different way. It kind of breaks the ice in a different way.
It certainly does, because to some communities it's still very taboo.
Absolutely.
People don't know what to say, how to say, they don't even know to say, are you okay?
Right.
I mean, those are questions, but it seems like that was your coping mechanism.
Absolutely.
Your aha moment to say, I accept what has been given, but now I know how to move forward.
Yeah.
What about you, Jared? What was your coping strategy?
I'm a very relational individual, so my family, we're really close. I'm one of 4 kids, and for us, it was just kind of coming together and trying to comprehend at the onset disease and diagnosis what this journey would look like. And so for me, a lot of the coping mechanisms was just processing externally, growing internally, and I think through the first couple months, it's just a whirlwind. I mean, physically beaten down, mentally, emotionally, and so your coping mechanisms and strategies change. I mean, for me, it was like okay, this week I can do this. I'm capable to do this. Other weeks I'm not able to read. I can't be on the phone with friends or text so relying on different strategies for me was really helpful. And I'm not an artist, so I didn't have an outlet like that. I was, really athletic, so I couldn't do anything physical. So I had to try to figure out ways. So I started reading a lot of books. I think that was really helpful to kind of get away and enter into new thought processes, not as just distractions, but as healthy, normal life practices. A really great practice for me was prayer, reading my Bible in prayer and processing with people the deep elements of what cancer to me and its effect on my life has been. The good and the bad. Those hidden beauties that really are revealed throughout the stages. And then, for me, ultimately, as I got further into that year, it was finding the hope and holding on to that. That really became the foundation of my coping mechanism and telling others about it, right?
And you have said the doctors and the staff here at the James, without them, you give them credit for you being alive today. So what words of hope and encouragement did they say to you where you felt like they were talking to you and not just giving you a line that they tell every cancer patient that comes through here? Yeah,
no, absolutely. This staff and those of you that are listening that are survivors or are currently patients, firsthand, just as we do, the quality of the health practitioners in every level. From Dr. Cohn all the way down to the nurse that greets you in the administration area. So everybody is on your team, and I felt you really feel that way as an individual here in this building. And so the confidence in which that breeds in you to trust in them, not just scientifically, but friendship-wise, community. They really gave us assurance that we were not just a statistic,
sure.
But we, in fact, were an individual. And individuals all the time is what they're focused on. We can look through the data and, each scenario is different. And, when I know that the kind of cancer playbook that the James has been really focused on for all these years, it's really focusing on that individual and the genetic makeup and really how that's going to respond.
You talk a lot, Jared, about how you've transformed yourself and your faith. What other ways did you transform? Because something I found that struck me interesting, you said sometimes being a cancer survivor is the hardest thing to overcome. So I'm sure you remember the day you rang that bell at the James, and right? That was a moment, but then you said now living in survivorship, that's difficult. Can you explain to people why?
Yeah, I think it's more of an unknown, right? You go into the diagnosis and it's really unknown, but you have a plan, you have a team, and you have an agenda, you have a timeline, you have a roadmap ahead of you that you can check off these cornerstones of treatment, or I've accomplished all these goals. And so for me, as a 21, 22-year-old re-entering, trying to understand who I was, what has cancer taken away from my life, and what has it added? What are the limitations now, and what are the things that I've grown as an individual? Processing that just mentally, and then trying to live it out, let alone the physical side effects from chemotherapy or surgeries. So I think, entering into that survivorship, I felt, even though I had a great community, I felt very alone and isolated, trying to understand my world and comprehend where do I go from here? And how do I succeed as an individual? A lot of times, I've described this to my practitioners, but it felt like a huge, massive celebration ringing that bell, and it is, and it's a great accomplishment. And those that have not yet done it, it's a great feeling, and those that have done it know what we're talking about. But it's kind of like a mountaintop experience, and then I felt like I was pushed off this cliff without a parachute. Of like, all right, there's no landing zone in sight, I'm falling, and then it took time to really establish good, healthy practices that next year to really recover. And kind of find my bearings.
That's such an important aspect, though, of survivorship that I think a lot of people don't get to hear, because they think once you ring that bell, you're great, go on, and life is good. But you clearly have that next journey, if you will, that next chapter. What about you, for you, Jill?
Gosh. So, God, it's a weird, like you said, it's a weird journey for all of us. We kind of go through these weird experiences. I was in my 30s, my mid 30s when I was diagnosed. I found a lump in my neck and was kind of like, oh, I don't know. I just found it, kind of played with it. And I went to the doctor, and unfortunately my doctor wasn't there, and I had to see somebody that I normally didn't see, and it's like, well, you're not losing weight. And that was a weird thing. Like, I wasn't showing any symptoms. I wasn't losing weight. I wasn't, no night sweats, all those typical symptoms. And so he was like, well, let's wait, and we'll see you in a little bit, and if it's still there. And I stopped, and I turned around, and I looked at him, and I asked him how old he was, and he was close to my age. And I said, so if I'm your wife, and I found a lump in my neck, what's the response? And so we immediately, it kind of went from this really weird slow process to like 100 miles an hour, right? All of a sudden you're like, you get that biopsy, you start to get these positive, negative, reads from it, and then they're like, now we got to go through surgery. And so it's like this weird, you're just flying by, and things are just blurs, right? So you're just kind of in this tunnel where you're trying to figure out how to manage yourself through that. But I think that, you just, again, I think claiming it and understanding it and moving forward with it is really important. I think that's where I became hopeful as a person, is that I knew what I could control. And I knew, what I could provide for my family and for my students, because I had, I have a family who takes care of me, but then I have these students who are like, I'm probably the first person they've ever experienced, like seeing I'm going through treatment. I was still teaching every other week, trying to have some sort of a moment to forget. Like, normalcy was really important, and trying to find that moment of normalcy. And so they saw, me with hair, me losing hair, me deciding to shave my head because I was tired of losing hair. And so, I had very different moments with it, where I had to figure out ways to navigate through that. I'm a mentor, I have students looking up to me. Are they worried about me not making it? Those were things I had to think about. And then of course you have your family too, that you feel the same way. You're like, okay, so I have to kind of keep a positive attitude. And I know, like you're saying, sometimes after chemo you were like, done. I just need to go lay in bed and sleep. But then I felt like if I didn't have energy, I didn't want my husband to feel like I was not staying positive, right? So, I think making again was my outlet, was my way to kind of process it and just kind of to move through the world in the way I needed to move through it.
What is important to you now that maybe has changed over this journey for you? Obviously family's important. My friends are really important to me. My dogs. I don't have kids. Dogs are important. They're members of the family.
I don't have kids, so they were, they kind of got me through that, getting up and walking. I think that things just don't bother me. Like, why waste your time getting worried or having things that just don't deserve energy that you don't have to give to? So I'm constantly looking at, if something goes down or I don't feel very comfortable, it's like I brush things off. Sure. I think that you realize how short and valuable life is when you have a diagnosis, and you have to really start to decide what's worth getting upset about, what's not worth getting upset about. And, you know, I value everything that happens around me daily. What a beautiful day. Oh my gosh, it's raining. What a beautiful day.
Right.
Like
the
that.
Flowers are soaking it up, right?
Right.
Drinking
Yeah.
it in.
You know, before it would be like, it's raining and that's horrible. Now I'm just like, I take everything with stride, and there is that hopefulness in living, right? Like, wow, I never really paid attention to this stuff, and now I really am paying attention to my world.
Boy, I hope people at home heard what you just said, the hopefulness in living. Such a strong statement, because I think you miss that when we're rushing through the day and you forget what you did yesterday. You have to live in that moment. You know, Jared, you were told during your treatment time that you would never have kids, which I'm sure was devastating for a young man, you know, who's barely 20, 21, and you're thinking, but wait a minute, I'm not even out of college yet, and you're already taking this part of my life away from me. So what was your reaction to that? And walk me through, I guess, the surprise here that we're going to tell our readers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, fertility preservation was a first initial conversation, which was great. I was so thankful. But the likelihood after the extensive amount of chemotherapy that I went through for a year, you know, it was intensified, and we got all these drugs that, you know, just no one wants. But it helped, obviously. It just, you know, it's hard at that stage of life to really focus on kids or future or parenting. I was very hopeful that my life would turn out to be, would eventually be a parent and a father. And so this past year and a half, my wife and I started really trying to investigate that. Are we able to? Can we? And so we started briefly. We were like, all right, let's start. I can start having that conversation with my doctors and healthcare team. And my wife, like right after we set like a date for an appointment, my wife was like, hey, I've been feeling really weird. I think I'm going to take a pregnancy test. I was like, there's no way. You can do it if you want, but there's no way. And she did, and she was like, hey, it's positive. I was like, I think you're reading it wrong.
Go take another one.
I was like, I don't believe it. So I made her take another one. I was like, there's no way. And so we had another one. But yeah, we are so grateful. Little Lucy Michelle is almost 6 months old, and just a miracle. I mean, that's all life is, and just so precious to us. We're just so thankful for her life, and just very surprised.
Right.
You know, nothing was planned about it, but it was just such a huge blessing. And you know, there's good things that come out of these situations, and
Sure.
you know, everybody's circumstances look differently. So I'm very cognitive. I have friends that are not able to have children, and you know, just go the adoption route or artificial insemination areas. But yeah, those conversations, especially as like a young adolescent,
Yeah.
I think the James, they handle it really well and encourage exploration.
Sure.
Because it certainly is not a distraction. It certainly is a very hard topic, but super thankful for the way that my healthcare team provided some guidance in that, even though it was scary.
Yeah. Have you thought about what you will tell little Lucy Michelle when she grows up about your cancer journey?
Yeah, I mean, we tell her, right? I mean, she's really in that engaging phase right now, where she's trying to talk to us, right? And so we tell her different pieces of our stories already. Mm-hmm. So my mother-in-law, Michelle, she's named after her middle name. Michelle passed away in 2015, so it's been 5 years now from a sarcoma, actually. And so, you know, just telling Lucy a little bit about her grandma. And you know, not just about my story, but my wife has been working on a book about her mom, so that she can share, you know, some of her cancer journey, her mom's cancer journey with Lucy, and the life that she lived. And so yeah, it's just a great blessing to share life through generations.
Right. That's great.
Something that I also saw that you said, Jared, was that you choose to not only celebrate the great victories, but that you embrace alongside the hardships and the triumphs. What would you say is a triumph for you in this journey?
I think that's a great question. I think probably for me is just that I have grown so much as an individual, and that I'm not embittered by the hardship. And I think that attitude is, it's not easy. It's an uphill battle because there's so many hard days. And in the midst of cancer, it's really easy to feel that defeat. And there were days when 100% I was in the hospital room or in my bed, and was like, I might die. I mean, I physically just was so gone. And I think just having and holding on to that hope is probably the greatest triumph. And then just also, seeking to give back and be a part of this community still. I'm super involved with the adolescent young adult groups here, and I still learn so much and have such great friendships with people that are going through treatment and are survivors. So we're all at different stages, but it's having this community to triumph together has really been a huge blessing for me, and I'm thankful to be a part of it.
And you're involved. You have the Steps for Sarcoma, the virtual walk that's coming up, right, in September?
Yep. Yeah, Steps for Sarcoma is great. And then even any of the JamesCare for Life programs, adolescent, young adult focus groups. We've been online with some of those Zoom or I think they're Blue Jean calls now, but it's great. I mean, lots of organizations and being involved is great.
Jill, how do you stay connected to hope? Because I know that you said as a survivor of and a caretaker for those afflicted with cancer. So you see yourself as both a survivor and a caretaker. Is that how you stay connected when it comes to hope?
Yeah, I mean, my mother-in-law was treated here for a lung cancer, and she had a sarcoma that unfortunately she didn't make it. But you go from being a person having cancer and going through that process to being the survivor, and then feeling that process, and then taking a family member in caretaking, but also the immediacy of kind of that personal experience that you've had, and not forcing that experience on my mother-in-law, but to be able to kind of read the situation and kind of make sure she was at a comfort level that she needed to be at. And and I also felt like at times I was taking care of, when I was sick, checking in on my parents and making sure they are okay. Because I think that although things are happening to us, I think that we also have to kind of look and reflect it and look at all the people around us, because it does affect them as well. And, I would check in with them to make sure they were okay. How are you handling this? And so you do kind of have that, you kind of play between the two, where you are a victim of, I hate the word victim, a survivor, and then you are then the person that's also caretaking. So, and checking in with my husband and making him go, because he would constantly be
on you,
on
right?
me.
Yes.
And I'm like,
yes.
You go golf with your dad, go do something. So I always felt like I had to let people know that I'm going to be okay. If you need to do something, if you need to have your own personal time or private time to just have this not be in your world. I mean, it's in our world 100% of the time when it happens. And I think to be able to alleviate that, so I think that you end up caring for those that are caring for you, because you want to make sure that they, it's rough, it's hard. My father had a really hard time, looking at me, because I was the daughter that wouldn't get sick. I was not the daughter that was going to get sick. And so he often, would be withdrawn, and I would have to sit with him and kind of start the conversation and get him talking and talk about other things than me being sick. So, I think that you end up, being both, all three.
I've had friends say the same, where they have said, for once, they didn't want to be the top of conversation. Right. They didn't want to be the focus. And it was almost, they wanted to prove to their family members that if they weren't around, they'd still be okay. And that was part of that journey, that the mental game, perhaps, that you have to say to yourself, if I had to go through this alone, could I? And let me show you that I can.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and to just let them know, hey, I appreciate that you're thinking about me, but you can't be consumed by me. Right? And I can't be consumed by the cancer. So we've got to figure out a really good balance here to survive in general. Like mentally, you've got to like just kind of find that good mind space to be in. And that takes time to find that mind space, especially, after you get treatment, because there's not a good mind space to be in at that time. But
speaking of being in a good mind space, I think, ever since COVID-19 came into our lives, all of our lives, it has really opened people's eyes in terms of just how delicate this disease can afflict other people with autoimmune, bodies. So what do you guys want people to understand with COVID-19, how it relates to cancer survivors, and also maybe how the past 3 months have changed for both of you in terms of living?
Yeah, I mean, I think, this global, none of us have lived through anything remotely near this. So we're learning, obviously, as we go. And, our family really has just been cautious. Even like my wife has asthma. I had, lung surgery. I'm so far out of treatment that, my immunizations, I'm fine. Immune-wise, but we've been very cautious, and I know we were talking before this even of like what, and I haven't necessarily had this experience, but what does it do in terms of like bringing you back into the realities of isolation or back into the cancer? And I know you were talking about
that was I think that was like it was weird. It felt a little like jarring to be like, oh, I can't go out and I can't, I've got to make sure to like isolate a little bit from people. And when you're going through treatment, that's one of the first things the doctor says to you is, don't go anywhere where there's going to be a lot of people, try to limit how many people you're going to be around. If somebody's sick, you can't see them. And so it really, you start thinking about this and it freaks you out.
Time.
There's almost a little bit of PTSD that happens. You just kind of are like, oh my gosh, I know what this feels like. So yeah, it's just, it's a very weird feeling, and I don't know, it's not comfortable. You'd think having to go through that because of having cancer, but this really is, it's crazy. But then I get nervous because I feel like, and I've thought to myself, man, if I were going through this now, I would hate for people to be scared to go see their doctors and that is a really terrifying thing. And, I hope that people are just continuing their path through this, no matter what, because, it's a strange moment.
For sure. And I think even, one of the things that I feel like has helped me grow as I reflect on my cancer journey is, we're able to have so much more compassion and empathy on others that are suffering in whatever capacity that suffering might exist in, and really specifically, healthcare related if it's suffering. Yeah. And so for those of us that are going through or have been through treatment, I think, relating to those that have been affected by COVID, but as well sharing with others. It's a good opportunity for us to share with the healthier community and just general population of, hey, this is similar to what a cancer experience might look like for people where it's really isolated, and kind of not just taking that COVID conversation and drawing it into cancer, but relating it and having some of those healthy conversations of some of your friends or family members that might be going through treatment right now. How can we really be thinking of them and being involved and encouraging them through this season?
As we celebrate National Cancer Survivor Month, what do you guys say to yourselves, when you wake up in the morning? I mean, is there something that you say to yourself to say, wow, I'm here? And as we're celebrating this Cancer Survivor Month, I mean, I have a grateful box that I have my 7-year-old every now and then, and I tell her, sit down and write something that you're grateful for, because I want her to remember, like you said, the moment that we're living.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really tangible. I see my scar on my leg every day, and that's for me my main reminder. It's really humbling in a very healthy way. I remember years ago I prayed for humility in this, and it was like, okay, well, this is ultimate humility, and I'm not saying I have ultimate humility, but it's very humbling to see the limitations and the effects that cancer has had on in the reality of my life, but as well take heart and take hope and take joy in the many blessings that I've received. One, that I'm still here, and we feel like we have practices that daily and weekly that we get to share grateful thoughts as a family together, and thankfulness. And so, yeah, I mean, for me, I think I treat this month similarly to most others. I think it's great to be a part of these programs and have this be a focal point. But I love celebrating life year round with my friends and family. But and for those of you out there, I mean, we are celebrating with you guys, even though we're not together. This is an awesome month, and we're so thankful to celebrate.
That's great. Jill?
I think for me, like my visible scars up by my neck, because my cancer was behind my clavicle, and so when I get up in the morning and I brush my teeth and I'm breathing in, the scar kind of pops up. It moves a little bit because of where it was, and I can remember while going through treatment, like thinking, I've got to get up and brush my teeth. Like that was such a big thing to do,
sure.
like just getting up and walking to the bathroom and brushing my teeth.
Right. That was a win.
That was a win,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sure.
just do that. And, when I think for me, it's like weird. It's like I'm brushing my teeth and I'm thinking about it. And it's this weird meditative moment where I acknowledge the scar. I acknowledge that time, and then I run downstairs and, wish my husband a good morning and make coffee and sit with the dogs, and we'll sit on the deck and just, all those things. Like, those are the things that I think that, I think that you take every day in with such gratitude.
Yes.
You know?
If you will permit me to share a story about that gratitude, many of you at home, and you may remember Heather Pick, who was the former morning anchor at 10TV. And so she and I would sometimes share the women's makeup room together. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're barely awake. And she's putting on her makeup, and I come trudging in. She's like, "How are you doing?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so tired." I go on and on about lack of sleep. And I just look over at Heather, and she's just smiling. And she's putting on her lashes, and she's like, "Well, listen." And she gives me her, happy spiel, and it's a shift. And I walk out of that makeup room and I say to myself, wow, it's a good reminder of what to be grateful for. And for that moment and those memories, every day now when I put on my makeup, I think about what Heather told me. And so I think that we all have moments, and if we have family and friends who have gone through it, you have a different perspective, right? And when you wake up in the morning, something to be grateful for.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We only have a few minutes left, so I want to end this amazing conversation with a question for all of you. There are some people out there who are just beginning their cancer journey. And so when they see this beautiful sign behind us in the flower, and it says, "Hope grows here," what does here mean to you? I know that James is an amazing place, but where does the hope start? In your mind, in your heart, in something else that pulls you to that next day? What does that mean?
Yeah, I think it looks differently for everybody. And I've been thinking about this whole month. This hope grows here, and the James is a place of hope. And so when you enter these doors, you can be assured as you're starting your journey that you're in good hands. But also the here that I talk about is the community that's surrounding you. Columbus is very unique. To be, an epicenter for, leading the cancer survivorship movement and, exploration and research and development. And so for me, the hope that is for here is the James, it's Columbus, it's the community, but it's also just your perspective and you choosing that kind of attitude and lifestyle that we were just talking about. I mean, that so much is a choice, and those days it's really hard. Maybe you need other people involved to encourage you towards that. But yeah, we would just say that's kind of where my hope is.
Yeah, don't lose the hope. Jill?
Yeah, I think that, hope is, sometimes it's fleeting. Like you have moments where it feels fleeting, and I think that is okay, because it's going to come back. And just to acknowledge it is really important. And I think that, we have those good and bad days come with this territory. And, I think that you have to reflect on those and take what you can from them, grow from that, learn from that, and then move forward. And I think that, I think that's, for hope is, the beautiful thing with hope is that it regenerates like a flower, like it constantly is blooming into something new and different, right? Whether it's that first time you're able to have something to eat that you haven't eaten in a while, that's hopeful, right? That's like a moment of hope. So I think that take small things are hopeful, large things are hopeful, and I think that you need to take them as they come, but really hold on to that and really keep that close to you, because sometimes when the hope feels like it's not there, those are the things that you reflect back on to kind of help regenerate that moment again. So it's okay to not feel it, but it's okay to understand that and then just know that it will come back.
It will. Amazing.
Yeah.
Jill, Jared, thank you both so much for your inspiring stories, heartfelt conversations. I appreciate it, and I know our viewers at home do as well. So we hope that encourages all of you to understand that hope does grow here. So from our heart to yours, thank you for joining us. And in the words of my friend Heather, enjoy your day.
My name is Patrick Buzzard. I'm a guitar player and singer and a dad here in Columbus, Ohio. I've been playing at the James for a few years now, and without a doubt, it is the most rewarding experience I've ever had, being able to be there when someone needs a friend, when someone needs a moment of normal. My entire goal when I come down to play is not to entertain a room full of people and have dancing in the halls. I want someone to know that there's somebody else there too. That it's this. Nothing about this is easy, from the people that work there to the people that have to be there to visiting somebody there. I just want to be there to help. My mom had breast cancer when I was early 30s, and it's my great failure in life that I wasn't there. And unfortunately, 10 years later, she got it again. And I did everything I could to be there, to talk to her, was there. So this isn't a story of redemption or anything like that. It's just, I know both sides of what it means to not be there when you should be. And I know what it means for someone to be there when you need it. If I can get through this one, we'll try. When the night has come, land is dark, and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. Darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. when the sky we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountains should crumble to the sea. I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as stand by me. So darling, stand by me, oh, stand by me, oh, stand now, stand by me. Stand by me whenever you're in trouble. Won't you stand by me? Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. Ooh.
Hello, fellow survivors. My name is David Eidelberg, and I want to share my cancer story with you. I was diagnosed with renal cell carcinoma in December 2015. I had my right kidney removed in February of 2016. And you all know what that period in between can feel like. But I was not new to cancer. My father passed away from cancer at age 46 when I was 18. So I know what a lot of you have been through. Of course, everyone's story is different and unique. But I still feel the fear that I'm sure many of you share. In fact, I was first misdiagnosed with lung cancer 15 years ago. And I just remember walking through Sam's Club and breaking down in tears because who knows, we didn't know what was coming. Every year, as I approach my annual CAT scan, I feel that fear again, because we're never sure what lies ahead. But we're here. We're here thanks to our loved ones and all the medical professionals who care for us. And now we have time we might not have had otherwise. Time to spend with family and friends and to do whatever we're capable of doing. Until COVID-19, I was playing at the James twice a month. And it's really the thing that I miss the most. I wasn't treated there, but I wanted to give back to cancer patients. And that seemed to be the best place to do that. There are many ways to give back, but music is my way of doing it. I love hearing the stories from people who stop to talk to me. And I love seeing the stress melt from people's faces as they come into the lobby and they hear music. And you can see that stress just melt away for a moment as they are listening to the music. They hear a song that means something to them, or just something that makes them feel good. And that is why we do this. The power of music is strong. And it's my honor to play guitar and sing a bit at the James. And for the patients, for the staff, for the families, and everyone who's there, and even on the TV in the rooms. It was difficult for me to pick a song to play for you today, but this classic reminds us that every day is such a gift. The sun has risen again, and we get to spend another day with the ones we love and do the things that we love to do. With cancer, every day is not guaranteed, and it is important to remember how precious another sunrise is. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely
years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, the smiles returning to the faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Sun, 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 here it comes. 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 Little darling, I see that ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Here comes the